Welcome back. Let's continue. So for our next step, first, what am I thinking here? So I'd like to build a portfolio website where the data comes from a database so it can evolve over time. I'm not too worried at the moment with making it easy to, add or delete records. So, later I might add a feature, have an administrator function where we could add or delete records. But for the moment, I just want to create the data. So I'm looking at this portfolio website, and I think I see three different areas of interest. So one is the main record. I'm looking here. So we have I think we need a portfolio record that says, well, here's the name. Maybe here's the icon for that name. Here's, the main image. So we'll need a main image URL. Then we'll need the title. Then we'll need the byline. And similar for these things down for the portfolios themselves is we'll have, a record for each one of these. Right? And that means that we can add a whole bunch or delete them, whatever we want. Let's see. Also, up here in the corner, these are generic too when you think about it. They're just basically a piece of text, and if you click on it, it brings you somewhere. So I'll have a set of nav buttons. Yeah, I like that nav button record. So let's give that a shot. Now, one thing that is going to come up is where am I going to store these images? I will mention, if I thought it was appropriate, I could actually store the images. They could just be static assets in the front end. But in this case, I think it'll be more flexible if I create an S3 bucket and just throw these images in that S3 bucket. So let's start with that first. Let's actually take these images. I've actually already grabbed them and create an S3 bucket, which is publicly available for them. So let's go into the AWS console, and we're going to assign it to the console, which I've already done, so it didn't ask me for my password. Let's go to S3, and I want to create a publicly available bucket. And by the way, the thing about a publicly available bucket is you do want to make sure that it's supposed to be publicly available. So we're doing this because it's static, no one else cares. Anyone in the world who wants to read that image, go for it. So let's create a bucket. What's my bucket name? Now, I do need to be picky. I do need to come up with a bucket name that no one else in the world has used. So let's say it's Robo Portfolio. Guess I should maybe spell that correctly. Now, the default, and I do like this, is to block all public access. But in our case, we want everyone in the world to be able to see this bucket. So we're going to say, yes, public access is enabled. I acknowledge that. Bucket versioning, don't care. By the way, this is a really cool feature, but we don't care. Encryption, if anyone wants to, we don't care in this case, right? So I'm just going to create that bucket. Cool. So, Robo Portfolio. So now, let's see. I think I'll just put the images right at the root level, because these are basically, our application isn't going to care where the URLs come from. It's just going to fetch them. So I'm going to go upload, and I'm just going to upload a bunch of files. So let's see. Add files. And, oh, there's my images. I can just add this right there. Serial World, Bitmoji, blah, 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 blah. So I'll just upload those. Looks good. I just realized I'm missing one. What's this thing here? I think I want to save that image as. Yeah, it's my logo. Sounds good. Save that logo. Back to here. Let's add a file. Logo.png. Nice. Okay, so now we've created an S3 bucket which is publicly accessible, and we've added a bunch of resources in here, basically pictures. Yeah, all looks good. Let's upload that. And pretty darn fast. Okay, let's close that. So now it's going to be pretty easy to reference these. In fact, let's see. This will be, I'm going to grab that right now. I'm copying that URL. Okay. Next step. Let's go back here. So we know that we want to create, looks like 3 different kinds of records. One is the main portfolio record, and we'll also have the portfolios themselves. That's a different kind of record. And then finally we'll have these nav buttons. So let's go into DynamoDB and create that first record. So let's go DynamoDB. Let's go to our tables. We only got the one. Let's go view. Hey, nothing so far. No surprise there. Create an item. So I'm going to call the partition key portfolio, and in this case the sort key is going to be the same. That's a common pattern when you have just a single record. Next up, I do have 2 choices here. I could create, in this record, I could create, a bunch of strings for everything, or I could basically say, hey, here's the payload for this record, and just have a JSON object. I kind of like that option, so I'm going to go with that. It's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. So I'm going to say map, and I'm going to say payload. And what does the payload consist of? Well, it's a string. So the first thing is the username, and that was myself, and followed by a title. Actually, before I get to the title, I want to get that image URL in here since this is my clipboard. Image URL. Paste that one in. Yes. Let's go next. Then the title. And the reason for that is I want to go over here and just grab this, because it is just for fun. Next up, byline. I don't know if that's spelled correctly, but I'm going with it. Oh, I think we'll have a different byline. So let's think about what our byline should be. It should be built with, and the front end is actually going to be Elm. We're going to get there, and then the back end is, of course, serverless. Serverless Express.js, DynamoDB, etc. That works for me. What else do we need? Let's see, we got my name, we got the title, we got the byline. Name, title, byline. Oh, and we'll probably want the URL for that thing too. And now I'm wishing I didn't change tabs like I did. Okay, so let's just do this. Let's go new AWS console, log back in. I'm looking for what's the URL for that for the logo. So in Bravo portfolio, there's our logo, and let's copy the URL. There we go. Back here, we're going to add another string, and this one's going to be called the username logo. I think that's about it. So I'm going to create this. Now, Next up, we want these portfolio records and these two records here. Okay, we can do that. Once again, we're going to go create item. Now the partition key. Let's see. So these are portfolio item. And the first one is going to be called secret knock. So the name's kind of arbitrary. And what are we going to do here? Once again, we're going to have a payload. With 3 fields. Title. What's the title? Secret knock. Going back here. Oops, losing my train of thought. Pretty good. Let's go insert string. Byline. Actually, I do got to say this was a fun project, the secret knock gumball machine. In fact, I've even had little kids sneak in my office to just play with the gumball machine. In fact, they once, in the middle of a party, unplugged all of my internet just so they could play with the gumball machine. Next one. I think image URL, once again. And I'm going to leave this empty for... Oh, no. We might as well get it right. Won't take too long. Raw portfolio, secret knock. That's not too hard. So that's the pattern. So I'm going to create that. And now it's going to be even easier to create the other 2 records. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to duplicate it. So this is our second record. And it's not secret knock. This one is Swift app series. Okay. Now let me grab this and go back here. And, what am I doing? Back to the database. So actually that's the nice thing. Because I duplicated this record, it's got all of the original stuff. So we're going to say, what's appropriate here? We're going to say Swift app. And the title is the Swift app. It is not that. Obviously I didn't copy the right thing. Come on. Copy. There we go. And this. Here's the byline. And finally, if we go back to the S3, copy that URL straight in here. Nice. Let's do the last one. Create item. Let's just duplicate. So I take one of these. Doesn't matter which one. I'll take this one because we did it before. And I'll just say duplicate. And now a serial world. This one's not as well. Actually, it was pretty cool technology, so I'll keep that on my portfolio for now. And bear with me. Sorry, guys. So the sort key here is kind of arbitrary. We just need to have unique sort keys. and here. Although I will say this, the sort key will actually determine the order. So when we do the DynamoDB fetch, the fetch will be based on the sort key. Everything in the sort key will be sorted. So I can actually use the sort key to determine the order. So I am thinking I might want to put a 3 here because I think I'd like it to be the third one. And the title is a serial world. And what's the byline? The byline is serial executions. No fun. Let's go parallel. So true. So true. By the way, this one was about taking, this particular side project was about taking code that was never meant to be run parallel and how to go basically refactor that code, make it stateless, and then make it really easy to, go parallel. So finally, need the, what do I need? I need the image URL. So we'll copy this guy. Ooh, almost done. Serial world. That looks pretty good. Nice. Okay, last two things, last two records. I think we want a record. When we go here, we want a record for this kind of thing. So I'm pretty sure this is just, yeah, that's a link to Dropbox, and the other one is a link to, well, my LinkedIn page. So in both cases, they're basically a URL. So let's create those. Let's create those records. So I'm not 100% sure this is going to be the final design, but let's do it. Let's create the item. The partitions key is going to be button. And the first one I'm going to call one dot. I like the resume first. So no, run dash resume. Let's add, just to be consistent, a new thing here called payload string, and we'll say name is resume, and URL is, and if we go to the resume, I'll just copy that, paste that in here. I think I don't need that. Well, do I need that bit? No, I don't think so. Grab that. Just get rid of that. Okay, so I'll create that item. And once again, I'm going to duplicate this. And this one's going to be 2, and it's going to be, what was it, LinkedIn. And did I even spell that right? Okay, I did. Good. And that brings us to this page. So going back here, the payload is LinkedIn, and the URL is that bad boy right there. Okay, let's create that item. All right, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. So we've got our table, and now we got quite a few records in it. And that should be enough data to drive the whole portfolio project. In the next step, we're going to actually add endpoints for getting at the main portfolio, the portfolio items, and that button. Okay. So hopefully you join us there. Thank you very much.